Ben Askren versus Bryce Hall. The match nobody has asked for. The match that should happen. I'll tell you why. I'll even give you my personal take on who would win. But first, why it should happen. Bryce Hall. A kid who said he won 40 street fights, 44, whatever it is. I kept bragging and bragging, saying he's the best, and he's going to fight everybody. After Austin McBroom, he's going to fight KSI, he's going to be the best. Round 3, he gets demolished. The entire fight he was already being demolished, but in round 3 specifically, boy was bleeding. He was bleeding more than a girl on her time of the month. But on the other side, we have Ben Askren. A man who came in very confident, said he's going to beat this YouTuber because he's a real fighter. He's going to show everybody how it's actually done. Steps in, ring. Round 1. Things go very different, because a very swift strike sends Ben Askren down. And well, let's just say the fight shouldn't have continued from there. And it didn't. It did not continue from there because it was stopped. And that's why we're here today. 2 guys who lost their fights, known as possibly the worst in their boxing thing. Ben Askren, he's the worst striker. And freaking Bryce Hall, he's a terrible striker, as people say too. And now, why should they fight? Well, it's simple. They both are, let's just say, kind of the guys who everybody look at and say they suck. You know what? They should be put together to fight to see who truthfully is actually better. Who truly cares about the sport more enough to get into that ring and outbox the other person. It's the perfect fight for either guy. Both guy has advantages and disadvantages, but not too many advantages over one another, and not too many disadvantages over one another. It's a fight that generally feels like it would be good for both guys. And now I'm thinking it's, good for both guys. Who would truthfully win? Who would go in there and show them more heart, show the better striking, and show them better determination? Well, from both guys on a standpoint, it's actually a very interesting fight. It seems to be very close because you got a guy like Ben Askren, as we said, went to the fight and wasn't in the best of shape and got slept. And he got boom, just round 1. He still looked like he was in it though. It looked like the fight could have continued, but I don't think it would have changed. I think Jake would have won. But big thing about it is he did land a good one. Like, I think it was a boom boom. It was a very good strike. I don't know if it's a 1-2 and then a underhand or something, but it was overall that was the best strike of the match for Ben Askren. While on the other hand, from Bryce Hall, he did have some good punches. They weren't the best, but he did have some good punches on Austin. But here's where the thing comes to play, and it's that who is stronger between these two? Because, God, I don't even know. Because you got a guy like Ben Askren, who in the UFC and even in his, I forgot what the company is called, but not Dustin Poirier, what the hell am I saying? Mighty Mouse. He won a champion from there. He was the one who was actually traded for Ben Askren. So there, I don't even think he had any knockout wins. He only had the submission wins, and he was a phenomenal wrestler and stuff like that. But the punches are just, they weren't his best game, honestly. While Bryce Hall, it's just like no power was there. It's like, it's weird because he still, I imagine, quite, a bit of a strong guy, but like fucking Christ, he's fighting, how do I put this? He is fighting non-boxers, and he's hitting them, and they're not even going down. They're still standing until at some points they do eventually go down. It's like, what? you should be, like, it's not the best thing to do. But if you're fighting a non-boxer and just some fan, you should have been sleeping them. They should have been on the ground out fucking cold, and you're not doing that. So, like, God, these two, their strength levels are the same, but it's honestly also down to how much they can take. And honestly, I should on Bryce Hall a lot. A lot of people should on Bryce Hall. That man could take a shitload of punches, honestly. He got his ass kicked. But you know what? He was not knocked out. He kept getting up. And he kept wanting to fight. Like, damn, And also, not always the same with Ben Askren, but, like, to be fair in his fight with Jake, as I said, he was not truthfully out. He could have gone a bit more, but either fight, I don't see the difference changing with the winner. But the key thing about this is their level of endurance and stuff like that. And if I'd have to pick one, prime Ben Askren, I'd definitely pick him. But Ben Askren now, probably have to pick Bryce Hall. Who has a better gas tank is another good question, because either of these guys didn't really get to go, to the farthest limit, because it's a weird decision to say this, because Ben we literally didn't get to see. In the UFC, I guess it's a bit different, but literally boxing we did not get to see, since it literally ended in round 1. For the good old-fashioned Bryce, didn't really look too gassed, he just kept getting beat up, so he really couldn't, go out and show his gas tank much, so he couldn't have it out there. So looking at it, God, it's a very, like, as I said, this is such an interesting fight, and it's such a tough one that it honestly makes me intrigued. If Deji and FuziTube if that's intriguing to people, this fight should be intriguing, because honestly, if people say, all the stuff about Deji, Deji and Bryce Hall and Deji should not fight. If people think Deji is, like, the number 2 best boxer in YouTube, it should not be a fight against Bryce Hall, because he's far past Bryce Hall, if you get what I mean. If he truly believes that, and that's why, honestly, he's fighting Floyd Mayweather, which I think he's doing it to get his name out there a bit more, but also get some more cash, because Floyd Money Mayweather makes cash, unless you're Logan Paul. But back to the point. If this was anything, Bryce should do this as a fight to show Deji that, he is on his level. Make quick work of Ben Askren. If this is a fight that should, as I said, should happen, this should be a Bryce Hall fight. Should try to get him to get ready for Deji. At the same time, who knows? Ben Askren can go in there, beat the hell out of Bryce Hall, and just truly show, he's gone better, and then he could maybe fight Deji. Because, God, who knows, honestly? That would be an interesting fight too. But honestly, if I'm looking at it, I think Ben Askren and Bryce Hall is the perfect one for another. If I would have to pick one who'd win, and honestly, it's such a tough decision. Now, I would say, if it's like a 5-round fight. So it's either 5 rounds or 3. Let's go ahead and be generous and give it 5 rounds. If it's 5 rounds, I think Ben dominates the first 2 rounds, but then the third one truly starts to question, because I think we don't know if Ben, he's never gone that far in the boxing fight, so it truly makes you wonder, like, okay, does he have the stamina to be in there, the endurance? And that's where I think Bryce kind of can pick up. Bryce can, if he can last out those first 2 rounds and let Ben get his gas tank out, since we know Ben Askren, phenomenal. He's not in the best of shape. He's in better shape than a lot of men and a lot of other people out there, but he's not in the best of shape for the fighting quality. And then when I fight someone like Bryce Hall, who's in actually pretty good shape, honestly, it truly begs the question, is his gas tank then would be there? And if I would have to look at one and say, you know what, I think I'd pick him, Bryce Hall, to be the one who can go the distance between the two with the gas tank. And then I feel like in round 3, it would get a bit closer. Round 4, Bryce starts, he starts getting those punches in, and Ben's not able to, he's kind of gassed, he's breathing, Heavy's just giving out these punches, just like to give his body, just throwing them, just using his body, just trying to hit something. But then, Bryce, if this again, if Bryce has the better, smarts and stuff like that, um, then he could go out and he could, sweat back and then go up while Ben is breathing heavy and just bam, bam. I don't know if he has a longer reach, but if he does, that will also help him. I think greatly for when that happens. But if he doesn't, he needs to let Ben get gas, and he needs to get him on the ropes or on the corner, and that's when he can start boom, boom, boom. And he could do what Vinny Hacker did, the Deji, basically, where he's just unloading and he's not giving up. Or even what Tyson Fury did to Deontay Wilder. Just don't stop. You have the gas tank. Like, go until, like the ref, just stops it because it just can't goddamn continue, basically. So, would that happen? I don't know, but if I was to make a guess, I'm probably going to actually, this might be surprising, but I'm going to guess Bryce Hall would win just because the gas tank. Now, to be fair, if it's like a 3-round fight, then Ben, I think, wins. But if it's a 5-round fight, then I think Bryce Hall would win just because the gas tank, I think, would stay in there a bit more. And who knows, if it's the first 2 rounds and slightly a bit into the third that I think that would Ben's best chance would be in there. That's why I think he would win the 3-round fight. But for the 5-round fight, I think the gas tank wouldn't be as good for Ben, and then that's when it's a bam. Bryce would need to impact there. But you know what? As I said, this is the perfect fight, I think, for both guys if they would come back to boxing. Bryce Hall, I know, will. Ben, I don't know if he is just retired, so who knows? I think it would be a perfect fight for both. Let me know your opinions. Do you think Bryce Hall should box Ben Askren, or is there another guy who's, been really doubted a lot, and he's not as good, and he'd be a perfect opponent for Bryce Hall? Let me know your opinions, but this is Davian, and I will see you guys next time. See ya.